All right, football is back, and we are started up again with Preview Fridays. Very first one of the season. I'm super excited to welcome my buddy JP Finley to the show. JP, how are you?
Hey, doing great, man. How are you? Firing up for football.
I know, man. I'm excited. It seems like it just ended. It also seems like it's taken forever to get here. You're a man with many hats. You've got the podcast, the Commanders Talk podcast. You're insider for NBC Sports Washington. And of course, you have the radio show with B. Mitch on 106.7. Do you prefer being a radio host or an insider, if that makes sense?
That's a good question. It's one of the reasons I like coming on with you, Doug. It's always good questions.
I appreciate it.
I don't know. I'm not sure I've really thought about it because they kind of, for me at least, like blend into one another, I think. I mean, if you listen to our radio show, we spend the majority of the time just talking about the Commanders anyway. It presents some challenges, like logistically, like, you know, having to do the radio show from the back of my truck in a parking lot in Ashburn. But
Right.
I don't know that I prefer one or the other. Radio's fun because you get a lot of interaction with fans, like with callers and stuff. And that's one thing. Like, I love the podcast, but you can't really take calls, you know? You know,
JP, do you think that do you think listeners and or readers get confused between the two roles that you have? Because they're different. One is a fact provider, right?
Yeah.
And the other one is a lot of your opinion. Do you think that people have a hard time not muddying the lines of what it is you do for a living?
That's a good question, too. I don't think so, because I think when I'm actually reporting something, I make very clear, you know, whether it's a source or someone has told me on the record, whatever it is. I think I strive to, anyway, make very clear when I think something is my opinion versus something I'm reporting as a fact. And, I mean, you know, just in the last month or whatever, there's been I've broken some news, and I think people are able to delineate that from when I say that, you know, I think this is a 9-8 playoff team. That's not a fact. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
It's tough because so much of our discourse is like kind of determined by social media, and social media, unfortunately, is like, you know, probably 10, maybe 20% of people are jerks, and the rest of people are largely pretty cool, but sometimes it feels like the 10 and 20% of jerks, like, dominate the conversation. So I'm sure, like, you know, I'm sure there are people out there that disagree with me, but I certainly try to make sure it's clear reporting versus opinion.
JP, the Commanders announced they'll do something similar to the Capitals. They have a dog they are training for service, but that doesn't have anything to do with an actual mascot that they're coming up with, correct?
I believe it does not. I don't think so.
Okay. People have been all hung up over the fight song. Why is it that they can't just let the band play the fight song and nobody sing it? Doesn't that make more sense, or is that just me?
Yeah, you know, I think the couple iterations of like the slow, like gospel-y sounding fight song, I think those are like, I mean, this is so silly, but I think those are like dramatic interpretations of the fight song. And I hope, frankly, I don't know, but I hope Sunday against Jacksonville, when they score a touchdown, the band just plays the song, and then people can sing it. And I recognize the song has changed a little bit. It's a little like jazzier or whatever, but just play the song and no more. I don't know, dude, but my hope is that we get away from, you know, whatever versions we've heard with the slower tempo and the dramatic singing, and it's just the band playing a fight song.
I hope so too, but had they worked too hard to like keep some of the old traditions, hoping to appease some of the older fan base? You know who I'm talking about.
I don't know who you're talking about, but I think had they, I don't know, man. It's interesting because I know that when they had like the hashtag, what do we want our hashtag to be? I was very vocal saying it should just be HTTC. And I thought keeping the song was a good idea. Now hearing the song, it's like, well, the old song was better, so maybe we shouldn't have done this. They're in a really tough spot, man, because they're trying like hell to keep the proud history of this franchise. But in a lot of ways, man, they're kind of an expansion team right now. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but like, it's a weird vibe, and they're situation that I'm not sure I envy them to try to maneuver it, and I'm not sure how well they have navigated it so far. But I don't know. I also think like hashtags are dumb to begin with. I don't like their functionality on social media has like expired. Like I don't think anybody searches by hashtag anymore.
I had a buddy told me that the other day that the hashtags are basically dead and just there for looks now.
Totally. Whatever, man. I don't know. I'm excited to watch passes and blocks and tackles. You know what I mean? All the dumb off-season stuff.
Yeah.
Let's hope we're done with it.
Let's do it. Let's switch to football. Chase Young, Cam Curl, Logan Thomas. Let's start with the guy we think will play first. Logan Thomas should be a go for Monday. You think they'll wait him out one more week?
I think he'll play. I don't think they would activate him and have him practicing and everything. It's Friday morning at 9 a.m. We'll find more out this afternoon, but I think Logan plays, and I've kind of thought he would play. First I heard like really good news with Logan was like around 4th of July, and you can go back, and I was saying I expected Logan back before Chase, and obviously that's the case now.
Cam Curl's in the cast. It's not that safeties can't play in a cast. Do you expect him to be ready for Sunday, and will that cast still be on?
I got a hard time believing he's playing Sunday, but I don't know that. Ron told us he had a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, and then he was out there and unable to practice on Thursday. I'm just trying to be logical. I don't think he's playing. I don't know, though.
Yeah. Chase Young, you think will be till before the bye before we see him?
I mean, the bye is mid-December, so yeah, you hope you see him before then. I've said all along, I think it's around Halloween. I think they have the Packers at home, I think week 6. Or no, maybe the Packers at home week 7, at Indy week 8. Like that 4 months has been kind of my estimation of this thing.
It's odd. I know that the bye's in there. They played the Giants back-to-back. I'm trying to remember the last time I can recall playing the same team twice in an NFL season back-to-back. Is that unusual?
It feels really unusual, but I kind of went back and looked. I think the Ravens had that exact scenario last year. They played the Steelers, had a bye, played the Steelers again. So it's the kind of thing that, the league, I believe that to be right. I don't have my computer in front of me, but I think with the expansion to 17 games, I think the league has to start doing a little bit funkier stuff, scheduling, and last year what I think ridiculous backloading of division games. This year, the Giants, play them twice in 3 weeks. I don't know. I feel like that would feel differently if it was Giants, because they've had this scenario multiple times where it'd be like, let's just say it was Giants, Browns, Giants. I don't think any of us would say any, you know what I mean? That wouldn't really register because they've had that scenario, especially with these backloaded division games. I think it's just that there's a bye week in between. It seems so weird. But it is odd. I think, hell, by the time they're playing the Giants, I think you're talking about Tyrod starting. So I think it could be an opportunity.
JP, who ends up starting more games at right guard this year?
Between Turner and Schweitzer?
That would seem to be the two most likeliest candidates. Feels like Schweitzer earned the job. They know Trey Turner real well also. I'm just curious whether you think they'll go one way or the other. Who's got the lead?
Seems like they want it to be Turner.
Right.
They signed him. They know him from Carolina. I mean, predicting injuries is pretty damn tough, right? But I think the fact that he's like full systems go now, it appears. I mean, he's practicing. He's limited on the injury report, but he's practicing. Leads me to believe that at least going into the year, it's going to be Turner. I don't know. I find it a little crazy that a big veteran offensive lineman can just get up to game speed and football shape without much, if any, camp. But we'll find out. This Del Rio stuff is all of a sudden I'm seeing like on Twitter or whatever that people are like, oh, maybe Ron didn't hire him. Like I think unless that comes from somewhere substantiated, I think it's a little crazy to like start talking about that like we know it as a fact. And like, yes, Ron didn't work with him before, but you know, his top defense coordinator got the Bills job. And like another D coordinator of his was Steve Wilkes that had just gotten fired in Arizona and was getting offset money from the Cardinals. Like, they certainly seem at times to contradict one another between Ron and Jack. But I think like sometimes the speculation just gets a little crazy. Maybe I'm not saying definitively it's not. I just when Ron came into the organization, he had so much control and was so powerful that I find it really hard to believe a D coordinator was thrust upon him.
I do too. And I know the thing that you saw, I saw the same thing. A lot of the stuff didn't make any sense. And I'm, as you know, I'm not one to just wildly speculate. But they also don't seem to mesh very well either. So I didn't find it to be wildly incredible. Although to your point, when Ron got here, I mean, they weren't calling him Don Ron for nothing. So at any rate, I just found it interesting. I've got a couple here from the mailbag at Capo_72. How will Gibson be used now? I think we had a different kind of feeling about how he was going to use before Robinson goes down. Will they leave things the same and just run Williams out there in the Robinson role, or do you think they'll revert kind of back to the running schemes from last year?
I think Williams definitely has a role. Last year, if you go back and look, they averaged 28 carries a game. If let's say this Sunday there's 28 carries, I think you see Gibson for maybe around 13, 15. I think you see Williams for 8-ish, and McKissick picks up the change there. I think Williams is definitely going to have a role with Gibson out, but Gibson was always going to be involved in the offense, even with Robinson before the shooting. So, I do think Robinson would be the leading ball carrier before the shooting, and frankly, I still think he's got a decent chance to be it now when the season's all said and done.
2 second-year players that I'm kind of excited about. Curious your thoughts on them. I like Bates at a tight end. I think he's a little underrated compared to where people have him. And Cosme at right tackle doesn't get talked a lot, but if the offense is going to be successful this year, it'll be based on that offensive line, and Cosme is going to be important. Which one of these guys do you think is in line for a better season?
But it's his game. I think he plays in the NFL for 10 years, but it's never going to be like a sexy. I mean, he's the type of guy that helps a team a ton. He plays all your special teams. He can make catches when he needs to, but he's never going to be a real dynamic offensive threat. Cosby's good, man. Cosby's real athletic. Just needs to stay healthy. Cosby has the higher ceiling, but Bates is like, I would argue, almost already proven.
At Capo at Lennox 601 rather. Movement. What do you expect out of the Scott Turner offense? Is this the year that we actually see it unloaded and unleashed? Are you a Scott Turner fan, JP?
Yeah, I think he runs good offense. I think they made a ton of strides last year in the run game. I don't know about unleashed. Like, there's this thought, like, his offense doesn't necessarily change because of Wentz or Dotson or whatever, right? Like, it's not like there'll be all these new and different schemes. I think they could be more effective, assuming Carson will play quick. I think they can be way more effective on third downs, which will keep drives going longer. But, like, if you liked Turner last year, you should like it still. I guess my point is, like, don't expect them to come out, like, running the spread option or something. Like, things aren't going to dramatically change. You just hope the operating efficiency goes up, and in turn, like, you're not throwing to Adam Humphries anymore. You're throwing to Jahan Dotson, and in turn, things improve. And, you know, people get so caught up in the arm strength stuff with Taylor, and I don't think that it's not a vertical question. It's like throwing to the outside eyeball on the sideline and trusting your arm to beat NFL corners to not jump routes. That's what Taylor didn't have, and that killed them on 3rd and short and even on 4th and short. Think about the plays we saw Taylor running that boot, and they'd have a tight end open for the first down, and he couldn't get the ball there, and he's throwing off his back foot. Like, that's where Wentz's arm is different. But the verticality might be different because Wentz loves taking deep shots, but Taylor had the arm on deep stuff. Like, it's quick, tight window stuff that will separate Wentz from Heineke.
If we agree that McLaurin leads the team in reception yards, who comes in second?
If he's healthy, probably Logan Thomas.
Were you surprised that McKissick came back when given the opportunity to play for the Bills?
No, I think he loves his role here. But I don't know. Buffalo looked pretty damn good last night.
They looked really good. Makes you jealous. Is what it does. Over under 16 games played for Carson this year.
I mean, I never want to predict an injury, so I'll say over. I don't see a scenario where he's getting benched for performance at all.
No, I don't either. And I guess it was just the idea that he hadn't played a full slate in a couple of years. So, assuming he plays all 18, over under 4,500 passing yards for Carson.
Under.
Jonathan Allen had 9 sacks last year. Over under that mark for this year.
That's a lot for an interior guy, man.
It is.
And you got no Chase at least the first month. I would say around the same or under. Fedarian Mathis, if it works out, like, they want to run this 5-man front with Allen, Mathis, and Payne, which could be pretty devastating if it all breaks right. So
I've been calling that the shark attack defense for 2 years now. I think it works, and I like it. And well,
they also don't trust. What's that?
And I mean, why wouldn't they be playing? That's what they got as defensive linemen. So why not try to get as many out there as you can, right?
Yeah, but then, I mean, if you're going to do that, I'd almost just play Forrest in the middle and not even bother with one of the linebackers on the roster.
How much of that do you think happens anyway? I mean,
I don't
think we see a lot of one linebacker sets this year.
A decent amount. I don't know about a lot, but I bet we see more one linebackers than we see three linebackers.
Right. Yeah. In the three linebacker sets, is it Tony at the Sam?
No.
Who plays
Shaka.
for Shaka Tony?
No. When they do go 3, I think you'll see Bostic out there with Holcomb and Davis.
Oh, okay. Can't say that makes me very excited. We talked a bit about Bates. So if over 4 touchdowns is a reach for him, you think? I think Bates going to have a bigger year than you do, I think.
Sounds like it.
Let's see. McCain led the team last year with 4 interceptions. Does anybody get over that mark, and who is it?
I have no idea. I mean, the predicting picks is incredibly fluky and like volatile. So 4 is a good number. I mean, Fuller's had a really good camp. Seems healthy. Maybe Kendall.
Okay, last 2 for you. What do you got win prediction wise on the season and on Sunday? And then I'd like to wrap with, I've been asking everybody kind of the same question. In your mind, what makes for a good season this year? What does a productive season look like for the Commanders?
9-8, making the playoffs. They will sell that as a productive year. To me, they got to win a playoff game. As for like specific things to watch, they got to be able to get off the field on 3rd downs. I mean, last year was abysmal. And dude, Wentz is under contract for 2 more seasons, and considering quarterback money, they've got him kind of at a deal. So you'd like to think if Carson can show he's your guy, that's a huge, huge development for this team.
No doubt about it. Okay, buddy, I appreciate you, man. Always the time you give me. Have a good and safe year this year.
Okay, man. Take care. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thanks.
See you, buddy.